نعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم. اما بعد, we're supposed to continue with the signs of the hour. Although last time we had finished them towards the end briefly. So I thought of maybe delaying it to other time because it's been mentioned, meaning the major signs, all of them together. But since we talked about the signs of the hour, what have been noticed when we listen to the hadith about the signs of the Day of Judgment, they would find that the common thing to all of this is there will be a lot of fitnah, a lot of tribulations and trials and tests to the believers and to humanity, which is one of the common thread to all of these different signs. Still, the biggest fitnah, which is the fitnah of the Dajjal, or they call it the Antichrist, will come. Right before that, it's many fitnah, many tribulations, many trials that people would face. So it's important to talk about how to face these fitnah, how to face fitnah and tests in life. And when we talk about fitan in this context, are the fitans that, as we heard it in the hadith before, like the waves of the ocean. Right? When a person is in the midst of a wave in the ocean, he doesn't have the means to get up to just take a breath. So he's just being thrown left and right and very confusing and so on. This is how the fitan do. To one becomes very confusing, doesn't know how to act in facing these types of fitan. And it's a very important knowledge for us to know, even if a person is somehow away from the fitan, but you never know when it will hit, when it will come. The person always have to be prepared how to face times of difficulties and so on, because that's what life is all about. Life is not necessarily just matters of ease. So the fitan, when we talk about the fitan in general, there are the fitan on the personal level, there's the fitan on the ummah in large. The fitan or the tribulations on one's personal level, either one of two types. Either the fitan of the shubuhat, the matters of doubts, matters referring to the matters of belief, aqidah and so on, or fitan of shahawat, desires and sins that comes from desires, whether it's the relationship between men and women, the fitna of wealth, as the Prophet ﷺ said that this is the fitna of my ummah, is in matters of wealth, seeking haram and so on. This is not the subject. This is something that a person should protect himself from it by the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by knowledge. Knowledge pushes away the fitna of the shubuhat, or the doubts. The more the person learns, the more the person seek the knowledge, the more he will be protected from all these different things that they spread of evil and lies about the deen of Islam and so on. And the way to push away the fitna of desires that opposes the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and doing the good deeds and being in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. These are the means, and the salawat, the 5 daily prayers, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expiate these sins. Ramadan to Ramadan, Umrah to Umrah, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Jumu'ah to Jumu'ah. And the istighfar, a lot of istighfar, a person always asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. But the fitan that is attributed to the hour or to the signs of the hour, this is how to deal with these types of things. That comes and it afflicts the whole ummah, the whole nation, or major groups of people. How to face these things, we have to have the knowledge of that. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he informed us. And there are verses in the Quran, so we have to learn. No excuse to be forgetful with regards to these things. Mentioning some of these points, and because of the time I won't keep you long inshallah ta'ala, some of these points that the ulama talked about from the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that we need to really hold fast to it so that we protect ourselves from means of slipping away. Because the shaitan, again, he is working very hard to disunite the ummah, to make enmity among one another, to have people to fall into their own destruction. One of which, and it's not necessarily in a certain order, is to make sure that we confirm what is being said and so on, not to act based on things that has been said, or things that comes in the news, or a person reads something in the internet, or somebody sent him an email, or there are so many ways now for people to get to know what's happening in even one's town or elsewhere. We have to make sure that the matter is really the truth, because there's so much lies, and you can easily have an opinion towards someone, or towards a group of people, or towards anyone, by just something in the news. And how is that we are suffering from the same thing, when people having this negative spread about what Islam is all about, and it's the moon god and all these types of things, and terrorism. So the same thing, we have to be careful not to fall into the same trap that people fell in which we would make sure that anything is being said is the truth, especially at times of fitnah, because the tongue is very dangerous, as we would see. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا أَنْ تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. We who believe, if a fasiq, if someone that is not necessarily a sinner, but anyone that doesn't really give so much attention to what is being said, comes to you with any news, فَتَبَيَّنُوا. Make sure that it's correct, make sure that it's true. Otherwise it might lead you to harm others, and then you would regret. And this had an incident at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he said that رجل من بني سليم, a man from the tribe of Bani Salim, he passed by some people from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and he had with him some goats, some cattle with him. So he said salam to them. So they said he did not say salam except just to protect himself from you. And he said something, they said something actually. So fitnah corrupted, and the man was killed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah, because they heard that he is someone that is plotting something, and it was all rumor, and it wasn't true. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah to raise the ummah, that never act based on who said, or he said, or she said. Prophet ﷺ naha an al-qili wal-qal, forbade people from qil wal-qal. Qil meaning it was said, qal, he said. So it was said, he said. Every time a person would say, this was said, or so and so said, I heard this, I read this. And sometimes people would feel that as long as they say, well, they said that, if it's wrong, it's on them. And as if once he does this, he's free from the blame. No, this is haram to do that. And this is part of our deen. And the Prophet ﷺ, and as we heard in the ayat in the Quran, forbidding that. So we have to make sure that things are authentic, things are clear, things are the truth before we speak it. And he said ﷺ, كَافَ بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَسَمٍ. This hadith, you might not find it anywhere except in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, part of our deen. People, if you ask them, what is lie or lying, they would say when you say something that is not the truth. There is more to it. The Prophet ﷺ said, a person, he is enough liar, that means he is already a liar, if he just narrates and says everything that has been said to him. So if we said to people what has been said to you every time, without making sure that this is correct, right, and so on, that person is a liar. He's not lying. He's not lying with regards to what has been said to him. He's conveying it exactly the same way, right? But this is enough lies, just to be, saying that they said, or he said, or she said, and so on. So to be truthful, a person has to make sure that whatever is said is the truth. We don't know, then we're quiet, unless it's proven otherwise. And this is what Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, he said, that when a person wants to say something, either what he's going to say is evil and bad and lies, or anything that is bad, then it's haram to speak. And you have to have the patience to keep it. Or you know for sure that it's good, with certainty. You can say, wallahi, it's good. Then say it, mashallah, this is a great thing. The third category, if you're not sure if what you're going to say is good or bad, then the ruling here, it's not permissible to say, unless you know for sure that it's good. We don't act based on doubts. That's one of the very important principles in the deen of Islam. الشك لا ينبني عليه عمل. You don't build an action on doubt. You build an action based on yaqeen, on certainty. We don't speak, we don't act unless we are certain, then we act and speak. Right? But a person would act based on doubt. No, that's why if you are during the salah, you're not sure if you broke your wudu or not while you're making your salah. It is not permissible for you to leave the salah. It is not permissible if it happened during the salah. Unless you have certainty. The level of certainty is, as Abdullah ibn Mubarak rahimahullah, he said, that you can say, of course you don't have to say that, but the level of certainty is like that you will say, Wallahi, I broke my wudu. If you have this level of certainty, then definitely you have to go out. It's haram for you to continue the salah. You have to go out and make wudu. If you don't have this level of certainty, then you continue your salah. It's shaitan is whispering. So doubt, we do not build an action on it, it's only built on certainty, and one of which is this. And also to be careful, if we are warned from saying things and keep on saying things, you end up having people hating, others and so on. We have to also be warned from those who talk too much, that we have to advise them and so on, and never be affected. As Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, one time he entered a man, and the man talked about another man in his absence, which we know that this is ghiba, unless it's with certain criteria. So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, he told him, if you will, we would look into your situation of what you said. فَإِن كُنْتَ كَاذِبًا, if you are a liar, then you are, as the ayah says, إِن جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَأٍ, the ayah that I just said. If a fasiq, if a sinner, or anyone comes to you with the news, you have to make sure that it's correct. And if you are truthful, then you are from the people of this ayah, هَمَّازٍ مَشَّاءٍ بِنَمِيمٍ, that you are spreading slandering and backbiting, which is still evil. So it doesn't matter even if you are truthful. The sanctity or the honor of a Muslim is not a simple matter for people to use it in their tongues and to attack others' honor. This is not an easy thing. Sometimes it's far worse than beating someone up. Someone with honor and dignity, he would feel the effect of a bad word being said on him, sometimes even worse than being physically affected. So, and as we know in the deen of Islam, the Muslim on the Muslim is haram. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the farewell Hajj, in farewell khutbah, in Arafat, in the farewell Hajj, he said ﷺ, the Muslim on Muslim is haram, forbidden. His wealth, his blood, and his honor and dignity, his ird. His wealth, meaning it is not permissible to take somebody's wealth, without his permission. It is not permissible to physically hurt someone and to shed blood. And it's not permissible also to attack the honor and dignity of someone. What happens with word of mouth. So to be away from this. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. If a matter comes to them from security or fear, comes to them, they would spread it. This is the way of the hypocrites, spreading rumors in societies and so on. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them to have the patience in which they would refer the matter to the Prophet ﷺ, to the people of understanding before acting and so on. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, من حدث عنا بحديث يرى أنه كذب فهو أحد الكاذبين. Whoever narrate from me a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's a lie, it's not true, he is one of the two liars, the one that initiated it and the one that narrated it. So that's another dangerous thing. When people find it so easy to forward emails that has a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, hadith sounds very nice, so they just forward it because it sounds very nice. But what if it's a lie? Somebody's making up something. You have to make sure that it's true, that this is from the Prophet ﷺ, whether it's from a trustworthy person of knowledge, or the matter, of course, the source is authentic and so on. And there are many, of course, incidences with this. And sometimes even, not everything a person knows would talk about it all the time. Sometimes a person has to be gradual, like you teach someone in first grade, you won't teach them the things that they would take in sixth grade. You have to take a person gradual, one step after another. So to protect our tongue, this is one of the most important things in times of fitnah. And sometimes a person would find himself, it's easy for him to make salah, to fast, to give charity, and to do all kinds of good deeds. But he cannot control his tongue. This muscle that never gets tired whatsoever. So it's very important that we control our tongue and we make sure that we see what we will be asked about everything we say. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. That no word is uttered by one's mouth unless there is the two angels that are writing this, that are recording everything we say. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَكْثَرْ مَا يُدْخِلُ النَّاسَ النَّارِ. When he was asked about the most thing that many people enter the hellfire, he said, الْأَجْوَفَانِ الْفَمُ وَالْفَرْجِ. The mouth and the private part, as a result of the sins and so on. And إن العبد لا يتكلم بالكلمة ما يتبين ما فيها تهوي به في نار جهنم 70 خريفا. That a person would say a word that it's an evil word, just one word, that would be the reason for him to fall into the hellfire for 70 years. So the effective word is very dangerous. And one of the things that Ibn Abbas he said that there will be a fitnah that happens, one of the signs of the hour, that the effect of the tongue in it is worse than the sword. There will be one of these trials and one of these tribulations that will happen as a sign of the hour. The effect of the tongue is far worse than the effect of the sword. So that means and we are towards the end of time, we have to and never belittle. And now it's very easy for a person to write something on the internet and you never know where it's going to end up being and how the effect of it will be. And shaitan is working with this, right? Once a person says something and it's shaitan, he likes it, right? He will make sure that it's spread. So this is such a danger, especially in the times that we live in. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and this is a sound hadith, he said, إِنَّكَ لَمْ تَزْدَلْ سَلِيمًا مَا سَكَتْ فَإِذَا تَكَلَّمْتْ كُتِبَ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. You are safe as long as you're quiet. Once you speak, it will be recorded for you, either for you or against you. So it doesn't mean that it's always to be quiet, because sometimes you have to say the truth, right? So you have to put some weight to this, and we have to think, so that we don't say what is bad and at the same time we don't conceal the truth. But as long if a person doesn't know, then to be quiet, there's no responsibility then. But once we speak, then everything is recorded. And as it said, Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, مَنْ كَثُرَ كَلَامُهُ كَثُرَ سَقَطُ. Whoever talks too much, his faults will be too much, right? And whoever his faults will be too much, his sins will be too much. Right? And that is the way to the hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. And one of the ways of the Prophet ﷺ, that he used to be quiet, as it said when Hassan ibn Ali, his grandson, was describing the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كَانَ طَوِيلَ السُّكُوت. طويل meaning long time. Long time with nothing to be said. لا يتكلم في غير حاجة. He does not speak without a need to speak. Right? He used to start his speech and end it with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he used to have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Prophet sallallahu jawami' al-kalim, the comprehensive speech. Very simple words that means so much. And that's why when we read the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu, we would see that we need to sometimes, we can expand on it because it's very precise and it needs sometimes a lot of explanation and so on. Not that it's ambiguous and not clear, but very comprehensive in its meaning. كلامه فصل. His words are very precise, very clear. لا فضول ولا تقصير. Not too much and not less. He would speak to what is needed, عليه الصلاة والسلام. And this is what is the way of the Prophet Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he used to say, and this is something that you would hear from many of the companions of the Allah. He would say, وَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّهُ, swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is nothing on earth that needs to be imprisoned more than my tongue. Right? And that's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, when you look into how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, you will be amazed of how every organ has been created to what it's for. And what it's for is to fulfill the purpose of its existence, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You would find, for example, the tongue, right? There are things, it's inside the mouth, it's not exposed. That's by the mercy of Allah. Imagine that our tongues is just hanging out like that all the time. So a person, when he's quiet, his mouth there's the teeth in front of it, and there's the lips, right? So it's been protected by more than one door or a gate, if you can say that, right? So that when a person would speak, he has to do something, right? So this is by the mercy of Allah to witness, different than our eyes or our ears. Our eyes, the same thing, and that's why if it closes, that means part of the worship is that we have to lower our gaze sometimes. If we don't have this ability, our eyes is always open, then there's nothing we can help when it comes to seeing something that is haram. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to close our eyes. That means we will be tested with regarding to this, to lower our gaze from something that is haram. When it comes to our ears, this is, does not close by itself like this. So things like that we have to witness this, and one of which is the tongue. Many statements from the early generations of Islam where they talk about the importance of speaking less and thinking before we speak. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyakul khayran aw liyasmut." Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, he should say what is good or he should be quiet. So this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. They used to count what they say, not necessarily that life becomes very difficult like this, but means they would listen more and they would talk more. And as they say, you have 2 ears to listen more than you speak. Especially again at the times of fitnah, especially at the times when there's tribulations and so on. And as Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, when he was asked about al-fitan, he said, who is the most evil person at the time of tribulations and so on? He said, kullu khatibin misqa'. Every khatib is one that gives khutbah, someone that is a speaker, motivating speaker, that is baligh, that has so much eloquent in speech. وَكُلُّ رَاكِبٍ مُوضِعٍ, which means the one that is going into the fitnah. He runs to it. He hears something, he goes to it. Why? Because in fitnah, you're supposed to wait and wait and see how things are. We talked about the Mahdi, right? That is one of the signs of the hour. As Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he said, don't be the first to give him the pledge, be the last. Why? Because anybody can claim anything. And people can rush into these things and act based on emotions. But the believers, they have this ta'anni. Ta'anni is to be wise, that we don't rush into things, especially when things are not, clear and so on, to wait and to make sure that we do what is right. Prophet ﷺ said, which is one of the signs of the hour hadith that we didn't say, although some had said that the hadith is not authentic and some authenticated it. Shaykh Ahmed Shakir rahimahullah authenticated this one. He said, تَكُونُ فِتْنَةً تَسْتَنْظِفُ الْعَرَبِ. There will be a fitnah that would clean up the Arab, right? Would take a whole bunch of them. قَتْلَاهَا فِي النَّارِ. Those who are killed in it, in the fire. اللسان فيها أشد من وقع السيف. اللسان, the tongue in it, is far more worse than the sword. So, a great warning, right? And again, with these signs, we should not interpret it into how things are in our life. But when you see the ease of what you say can reach the whole earth, how easy it is for the word of mouth and the effect of it to reach everywhere. This was not present in 100 years ago. People would have to wait for a month or maybe less if they want to pass a speech or something like that. Now instantly, right? And everything is being sent and everybody can hear everything. So the effect of one's mouth, this is one's tongue, it's a very severe thing. And there are many narrations with these types of things. And one of the things to talk about when it comes to fitan that the early generations of Islam used to, once something like that happens, they would stay away. Even if things that happened in the past. Imam Shafi'i said it was said to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, ما تقول في أهل صفين? What do you say about the people of Siffin, this fitnah that happened among the companions of Allah anhu? He said, تلك دماء طهر الله يدي منها. These are bloods, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected my hand from it. فلا أحب أن أخضب لساني بها. I don't like for my tongue to be stained by this blood. You know, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects you from something. Why would a person speak about it and bring again enmity and hatred and things of that nature into one's heart? So the main point of what is being said here, maybe a word might be a reason for a blood to be shed. So we have to take the effect of words that serious, especially at the time that we live in. We know that how the Khawarij, and we talked about them also, and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that they are from the signs of the hour. It's because they claim others are disbelievers by their actions and so on. One last thing is, before we finish, inshallah ta'ala, is one of the means of fitan is to stay away from it. Right? To stay away from it. And being away from what is evil, it's also part of our deen. We cannot be just leaving ourselves to do whatever. We have to think again before we do things. And it's not something that would make our life difficult or anything, but again, at times of tribulations, the person has to stay away with one's tongue and with one's actions. And as for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا الْتَقَى الْمُسْلِمَانِ بِسَيْفَيْهِمَا فَالْقَاتِلُ وَالْمَقْتُولُ فِي النَّارِ. If two Muslims, they fight with each other, the killer and the killed, both in the fire, will be in hellfire. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, okay, the killer, we know, he killed someone. But what about the one that is killed? Why would he be in the hellfire? He said, كَانَ حَرِيصًا عَلَى قَتْلِ صَاحِبِ. He was so eager to kill his brother. So because of that intention, although he was killed, this intention was the reason for him to enter the hellfire. So to protect our intentions from any means of evil and to purify our hearts. And as we said, one of the means of humbleness is that when a person looks at any Muslim, he sees him as better than him. Not that he's better than him. No, not looking down at others, no, looking at others that they are better than us. Maybe Allah subhanahu, even if they look like they're not doing what is good, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change the situation. And we never know what happens to the hearts, and hearts changes and so on. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, when he called someone to go and fight with him in some fitnah and so on, this Sahabi, he told him, my father and my uncle both witnessed the battle of Badr, and they took the covenant from me that I would never fight anyone that says La ilaha illallah. So if you come to me with a bara'ah, a license or something like freedom from the hellfire, that I'm free from the hellfire, I will come with you. As some said, when they used to fight in the battles and so on, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, he said, I would never fight unless, meaning another Muslim or fitan and so on, unless the sword has two eyes, to say that this is a believer, this is a disbeliever. But to just, once a person get excited or get angry, and he act based on this, and it's easy to encourage people to do things, and that's definitely something that leads to fitan also. So the ruling of the fitan is to isolate oneself, to stay away from it, not to indulge in it, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, when the times of fitan is kunu ahlasa buyutikum, stay in your homes. The fitna of the Dajjal, the Antichrist, or so, when he comes out, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you hear about him, run away from him. Don't go face him and say, I know who he is. He said, otherwise you might go to him thinking that you know him, and you'll end up following him. So the ruling of the fitan is to stay away from it and not to make it bigger and so on. I don't want to keep you long, but facing these types of fitna, and this is what is really meant by all of this. When we look at the situations of the Muslims and everybody is sad and concerned and so on, we have responsibilities as individuals. And this responsibility, many people, they don't see it as an effect or a direct effect to how things will be improving. They think it's not for real, but it is. Because we know the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not by the way we think, by the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a great effect in our good deeds, personal level. If people repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make their salah and they make their dua and they stay away from the sins and disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is definitely brings all means of goodness, not just to oneself, but to the whole world actually. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the only reason that this whole earth is still intact is that some people are saying La ilaha illallah. If there's no believers on it, there's no value to it, right? So the more the person increases good deeds, he is a blessing to his community, to his people, to the place that he lives in, because they're the ones that are basically the security for this world. So we need to be among these people, those who will do what is right and those who will stay away from what is evil, especially at times of these fitan. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "Badiru bil a'mal." Be in haste to do the good deeds. Then he said, "والسلام, why should you do a lot of good deeds and so on? فِتَنًا كَقِطَعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ." Because fitan will come, tribulations like the clear pieces of the night, totally dark. You're not able to see anything in it. You're confused. One step you can take can be your destruction in it. So do act before these times would come. يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. A person would wake up in the morning believer, end up at night being a disbeliever, sleeping believer, waking up in the morning disbeliever. Why? يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِعَرَضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. He sell his religion by some apparent things of this world, following the desires, compromising one's religion, and so on. And Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he said something in the meaning of which, after he recited this hadith, how can a person be believer and then disbeliever? Is it a matter of belief? Like as a person is convinced that this is the truth, how can he change? This is not what it's meant. He said, يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ مُحَرِّمًا لِدَمِ أَخِيهِ وَعِرْضِهِ وَمَالِهِ وَيُمْسِي مُسْتَحِلًّا لَهُ. A person will be in the morning, the blood and honor and wealth of his brother is haram, is something sacred he cannot approach. But then at night time, he changes, he flips on this. The blood of his brother becomes, permissible for him. And this is how a person can change like this. And that's why the one that do the good deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never let him down at times of difficulties. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said in more than one hadith. And even when Jibreel ﷺ came first to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ was in the beginning scared because he did not know the revelation before, and he went to Khadija radiallahu anha, right? And he told her, I'm afraid of myself, Khadija. She radiallahu anha immediately, she said, Kalla wallahi la yukhzika Allahu abad. No, indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never disgrace you, would never let you down. Why would she say that? She said, because إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلِ الرَّحِمِ وَتَقْرِي الضَّيْفِ وَتَحْمِلِ الْكَلْبِ وَتُكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ وَتُعِينُ عَلَى الْحَقِّ. Because you are kind to your relatives, you take care of your guests, you take care of the poor and the need, and you help them. So she took from these actions that if a person is like this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never let him down, never disgrace him. So the means to protect ourselves from any evil is to be righteous and to be kind and to extend our benefits to others, because this definitely has an effect. And the meaning of that, the opposite of it, if a person doesn't do anything of good, that means he will be the first to be affected by these fitan. Prophet ﷺ said, عِبَادَةٌ فِي الْهَرْجِ كَهِجْرَةٍ إِلَيْهِ. To make ibadah in the harj, in the tribulations and times of fitan, is like making hijrah, migration to the Prophet ﷺ, which is one of the most virtuous deeds ever. To migrate with the Prophet ﷺ at his time, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, till the day of judgment, mentioned them in the Quran, the muhajirin, those who migrated with the Prophet ﷺ. And why is that? Because it's not easy to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at times of fitan. Everything is pulling you away. Wealth, status, everybody, you look stranger everywhere you go. It's time for you to make your salah. Nobody's helping you. You might be the only one in the whole building that want to do the salah. Nobody's helping you to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whatsoever. That's why if a person has some help, definitely makes it easy. So these types of things makes the person his ibadah as if he is migrating to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's an authentic hadith, صنائع المعروف تقي مصارع السوء. صنائع المعروف, the good deeds, protect the person, shield the person from the evil consequences of the things that happen in his life. Right? And you never know which one will be the reason for the person to be saved. And remember the story of the man that was lost in the cave. These are true stories, and people sometimes they would think it's maybe, you know, in the fairy tale stories. No, these are things that happens, you know, in our time. Remember the story of the guy with the charity? And the Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah, he mentioned the story where a person was in one of these caves waiting for his death. There's no way out for him. And every day at a certain time when it's totally dark, you know, comes to him from nowhere a cup or a plate with milk in it for him to drink. And he stayed alive with this milk till they got him out for 10 days. And it was the same milk of the goat that he had been given to the poor to drink the milk from it. And when his sons stopped giving them one day, the milk didn't come to him. So that when he wasn't so much in need of it, the effect of his good deed came to him and was a mean to aid him. So the same thing, the most time when a person is in need of help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good deeds will come by the will of Allah and help. At the moment of death, at times of adversities and so on and so forth. So, and how to do that again is by the ibadah. And the Prophet ﷺ, anything that would concern him, he would rush to the salah and make the salah and to make the dua. And as we heard the hadith last time, that times of fitan where the only way for a person to be saved is the dua of the ghariq, is the dua of the one that is drowning. So it's a call definitely when people are forgetful and away from being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the believers should flee to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him and make remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, consistency every day, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll stop inshallah this time, and next Saturday inshallah we'll talk about the punishment or the reward or the delight and the good things in the grave, because this is one of the stages of the hereafter. When a person dies, there's the life in the grave or in the barzakh, which is transition between this life and the hereafter. And there's some verses of the Quran, a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that talks about how this life is. It's unseen to us. We'll talk about it inshallah ta'ala if Allah gives us life next Saturday after